Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. I have actually been looking forward to doing this video for some time, but it has actually taken me some time to piece all of this together. And the reason for that is because what I'm going to be talking about today is some books that are undervalued that could have some value in the future. But these books were ones that were under the radar, that are part of several different retcons that were done in the past and also in the present that required me to do some research, do some checks, read a lot of books to try to piece it together. And I think that I have it. I think that I have it pieced together. But we'll see what happens in the comment section because it could just all fall apart. It could all go wrong. But what I want to show you are some books that are on my desk here that could have some significance into the future. And that could be an increase in value, which would be great. It could simply just be that they are referenced, or at least the characters are referenced in a future MCU movie. And I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. It is pure speculation on my part. And the reason that I say that is because essentially what has recently been done, and I think kind of sort of in the mid 2000s, but what they have essentially done is established a firm link between an existing MCU character and one that is not in the MCU but could potentially be coming. And so the idea is that with this retcon, that might be how they introduce a really important character and a really important team to the MCU. I'm specifically talking about Wolverine and the X-Men. If you go and read the Weapons Plus one-shot, basically what you find in that comic is that Wolverine and Captain America have a very long and linked history, because this book kind of lays that foundation, where both of them are part of something called the Weapons Plus program. And this idea actually isn't new. This was first introduced in the early 2000s by Grant Morrison on the new X-Men title, right? When he was working on that particular title, he actually wrote a lot of this stuff into that title. And the early 2000s for me is kind of like a dark period, right? I definitely was not collecting around this time. And it's been a little bit of a struggle for me to go back and read some of those books for several different reasons, right? The art's not that great. The story is a little convoluted because it's Grant Morrison and that's just his style of writing. But with all of the excitement that is happening right now with the X-Men, with the Weapons Plus program, it has prompted me to go back and read a lot of those old books. And as a result, I've actually been picking up some of those books. And that's part of what I'm actually going to show you here. So whether this comes to the MCU, I don't know. But these books might still be of interest to you if you're a Captain America fan, if you're a Wolverine fan, if you're the type of person that likes first appearances or likes to collect retcons. There could be something in this video for you. The great thing is that most of these books that I'm going to be showing you are inexpensive books. We're talking below 10 bucks. Generally speaking. There are a couple more that I want to pick up that are also inexpensive, but if you decide to buy them, you're not going to break the bank. You might enjoy the read. You might have a really cool book for your personal collection, and the rest of it, who knows? Who knows what could happen? So with that, I want to go ahead. Oh, I should also mention what I'll do at the end of the video is I'll give you a rundown of all of those heroes, villains, creatures, things that are now part of the Weapons Plus program. And there's a lot of retconning, so stay tuned for that part. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the books that I have in front of me. The very first one is one that I've already mentioned. This is the one-shot. This is the Weapons Plus one-shot that again kind of establishes that relationship between Wolverine, Captain America, and also Phantom X, another part of the Weapons Plus program. I actually reread this book again just this morning because I enjoyed it the first time, so I reread it. This next book is actually a first appearance. It's the first appearance of the Stepford Cuckoos, who are also known as Weapon 13. This is New X-Men number 118, little Grant Morrison action here. Again, the artwork on many of these books, not great, not terrible, but certainly not great. And the story can be a little convoluted because that's just Grant Morrison's style of writing. But again, first appearance of the Stepford Cuckoos. The next book is not the first appearance, but it is the second appearance of Phantom X. I'm hoping to be able to get the first appearance soon, but I wasn't willing to pay the prices that I saw online, so I'm hoping I can find it a little bit cheaper. This next one is New X-Men number 129, second appearance of Phantom X. It is also the origin of the Weapons Plus program itself. I actually picked up a couple of copies of this particular book just because the first one had some spine ticks, so I had to pick up more to find a better copy, but whatever. This next one is New X-Men number 130. This one is important for a couple of reasons. It is actually the first appearance of the Huntsman, known as Weapon 11. I do believe it's also the death of the Huntsman. He did not last very long. And it's also the first appearance of the World Facility. The World Facility is one of many organizations that is actually associated with the Weapons Plus program. And in just a couple of moments, I'll identify a couple of other organizations that have contributed, supported the Weapons Plus program. So again, World Facility, first appearance. This next book is another first appearance of another Weapons Plus program. This is specifically the first appearance of Weapon 14. This is New X-Men number 144. Cool cover there. Artwork, not great, but for some reason, I actually like this orange cover right here. The next book that I want to show you is a very, very interesting one. And it is the origin of Weapon 1. And Weapon 1 is Captain America. This is New X-Men number 145. Again, this one is the book that actually retcons Captain America as Weapon 1, part of the Weapons Plus program. The very last book that I'm actually going to show you is not part of the Weapons Plus program, but it was a book that as I was reading through Key Collector app and I was reading through these individual books, I kind of came across this one and decided to pick it up as well. I actually found it in a long box at a local comic shop over in Berkeley. So I was very pleased to have found this one. Didn't have to go to eBay for it. Didn't have to do it online. I actually found it in a local comic shop along with a couple of these others. So it was really cool. This is New X-Men number 139. And this is actually the origin of Emma Frost. This is actually a pretty cool book. If you like the drama that can be the X-Men, this one looks at the love triangle of Emma Frost, Jean Grey, and Cyclops. Yeah, it's an interesting one, so you might want to check that out. All right, so now I'm actually going to transition and actually give you a rundown of the various heroes, villains, creatures, thingamabobs that are now part of the Weapons Plus program. So Weapon Zero is still unknown, and at least it for now, right? It says that it's classified unknown. Who knows whether we're actually going to figure out who Weapon Zero is. Hopefully they will identify him, her, or it at some point in the future. As I mentioned, the Weapon 1 is actually Captain America. And again, that's a little bit of a retcon, but he was part of Project Rebirth. Weapon 2 is there's a little convoluted stuff that is happening with Weapon 2. Some places say that it is a team called Brute Force, and this is basically a team that again underwent some experiments, some human experiments, and received some abilities similar to, you know, your Captain America, your Wolverine, your Phantom X, some of the folks that we kind of mentioned already. And their first appearance was actually, I believe, in Brute Force number 1. Not quite sure how long that title ran for, but it at least lasted one issue. There is some other information out there that actually suggests that Weapons 2 was actually animal experiments, but again, it's a little convoluted depending upon where you look and which retcon you happen to believe. With that said, it was pretty clear to me that weapon 3 is actually animal experiments. And if you look at the one shot for the Weapons Plus that I showed you a short while ago, you can actually see some of the weapon 3 experiments in that particular book, specifically a really aggressive grizzly bear that actually thanked Captain America for putting it out of its misery. If you take a look at the Weapon Plus one shot, it's pretty clear from that book that Man-Thing is actually Weapon 4. And in that same book, it clearly identifies that Weapon 5 is actually a Nick Fury project that led to the creation of the Sim Soldiers, specifically Rex Strickland, who we actually saw in Venom #1. Weapon 6 is Power Man, aka Luke Cage. And again, this is a complete retcon of his history. I actually had a chance to read this book maybe a couple of months ago. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can promise you that there was no mention of Weapons Plus in that particular book, but he is now part of the Weapons Plus program. And again, if Marvel decides to introduce Weapons Plus, they now have a mechanism for introducing several characters, right? You have Man-Thing already, you have Luke Cage, who kind of exists out there, you have the ability to introduce Wolverine as well, in addition to some of the other characters that I'm about to mention to you right now. Weapon 7 appears to be an umbrella type of project, whereby it created some soldiers that were kind of sort of failures and successes all at once, and the most notable is probably Nuke, which doesn't say a whole lot, but this umbrella project was known as Homegrown. Weapon 8 is Typhoid Mary, and I actually don't know a lot about Typhoid Mary. I'm assuming that it's the same Typhoid Mary that squared off against Daredevil, but I'm not quite sure. I actually probably need to do a little bit more research on that one, and if you guys have some insight, I definitely encourage you to put that in the comment section. Number 9, Weapon 9 is Deadpool, and we all know his first appearance. Weapon 10 is Logan, aka Wolverine, and up until the Weapons Plus stuff, or the Grant Morrison stuff, we all believed that it was Weapon X. We now know that it's actually Weapon 10. Weapon 11 is the Huntsman, which I showed you earlier in the video. Weapon 12 is Phantom X. Weapon 13, the Stepford Cuckoos. Weapon 14 is Ultimation, and again, it's a character that I showed you earlier with the orange cover. Weapon 15 is All God, and in one of the books that I showed you earlier in this video, they actually alluded to a creature known as Weapon 30. So there are still a lot of unknowns out there. I think they did a really good job of basically saying we're going to give ourselves room to do some additional creation under this umbrella of Weapons Plus. But we've been able to identify several of the characters, and I can tell you that Weapon 30, I want to see him. I want to see him because in the book, they actually showed him in this massive tank. And all you saw was a hand that was sticking out of the tank. It was a red hand. And this hand was almost as large, if not larger, than a man. So I don't know what they cooked up in Weapon 30, but it is definitely going to be interesting. So as I mentioned, the World Facility was not the only organization that was actually part of the Weapons Plus program. There were a couple of others that were identified, including the Stain International, Oscorp, Sickle, and also Roxxon. And no one's surprised by that very last one. Roxxon is a really interesting one that is directly connected to a lot of crazy stuff that happens, including the Weapon H program, which was a blending of Hulk DNA and Wolverine's DNA into a really, really cool character that was introduced a couple of years ago. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you found it entertaining. And if you did, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so at Reggie Collects on Instagram and RegieCollects@gmail.com. Take care.